Cody, here we are at Red Rock. Great to actually sit down with you. Let's do a recap. Power Slap number 6 in the book at the Durango. How awesome was that event, my man?
Dude, this was the best one yet. I mean, from the talent-wise, production-wise, venue-wise, this is setting the stage for what's to come. Only the best.
100%. I mean, great to see get out of the Apex, force the team at Power Slap to be able to adapt to different surroundings. What an incredible event. I know you were there as a spectator.
Yeah.
But I mean, Charles Barkley being there, a ton of celebrities, the food, the open bar, everything that they did, was world class, top to bottom. Wouldn't you say?
100%. I mean, when we saw Charles Barkley, TB12 roll in, it's like everybody who's a who's who coming in for the Super Bowl stopped in for Power Slap. It kind of shows how awesome the sport's growing.
Totally. And I mean, right off the bat, like Robert Trujillo, the guy starts every card, every time, because he's the little guy in the group. And, it sets the tone for the night to come every single time. He doesn't disappoint. I called it earlier that Robert Trujillo was my lock of the night. I didn't like a lot of these fights from a betting perspective.
Sure.
But Robert Trujillo was hands down lock of the night for me. And I thought it was incredible how Robert continues to keep on dominating over and over again. What do you think it is that 155ers don't want to come to Power Slap? Is it the same thing as Sheena in the women's category, that people don't want to come in 155 to face Robert?
I think it's I think it's a multiple of things. One, look at Robert's history. He has this reputation. His hands he must stuff dynamite in them or something. But when he hits people, they blow up. Yeah. They freeze. Another thing is, I think in any division, we're starting to see a lot of people that are realizing it's a lot to stand there, go eye to eye with somebody when you're about to take a blunt blow to the head. It takes some cojones, So compounding that with being on one of the fastest growing stages right now.
Totally.
It's all mental.
I agree with you, man. Was it hard to be on the sidelines watching this?
100%. I mean, I was sitting right next to Vern's wife.
Okay.
And I was like, I get the same butterfly feeling as if I'm going on stage sitting in here, because I know what these guys are going up against. It was fun from a spectator point of view, but it made you a little itchy.
Yeah. I mean, talk about Vern, Austin Turpin as a coach. Who would have thought that? I mean, honestly, the guy lit up. Like, I don't know if slap fighting doesn't work out for him. I mean, coaching could be in his future, because I heard countless times Ryan Phillips, Vern, that they crediting Austin in the post-fight interview for hyping them up and get in there. Like, what a crazy performance through and through.
Everybody on Team Blue that I talked to, and I talked to almost all of them, we were all in the house together. They said, boy, Austin Turpin made all the difference. He hypes you up. He gets you in that mental space where you just go out there. It's primal. He knows how to tap into that. Just that prowess, it was fun to watch.
It's incredible. I thought it was cool that they changed the format this time as well. They went to the early prelims, the prelims.
Yep.
Then they had the main card, which I thought was really cool, kind of moving towards that UFC style
100%.
event. Is that going to be a sign of something to come, where we're going to have different broadcasters potentially for different parts of the card? Who knows?
Who knows? I think there are so many unknown factors. This thing is, as Dana says, a juggernaut.
Totally.
I think the fun thing about this from a fan's perspective, it's the unknown factor. He can take it anywhere.
Totally.
I mean, imagine if he follows suit with the UFC. Imagine Power Slap in the Sphere.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's brilliant. I think whenever you take the UFC on the road, you could take Power Slap with it.
Absolutely.
You could put it as a Friday night event. You have the arena. Your setup is taking place the day before.
Yep.
I mean, we've been there for UFC events covering it. And the arena's set up on the Friday. Like, they literally curtain off half of it for the ceremonial weigh-ins, and the cage is already ready to go. Like, you could easily roll out an event Friday night.
Yeah.
With Power Slap, and I think it's super smart. I mean, Dana on the Kevin Iole show, has a strong desire, as he said today, to go to Hawaii first for the first actual arena show that has regular tickets open for fans.
Yep.
Like, how amazing, man, would that be? Even if it was like a 5,000 seat stadium, in Hawaii with the amount of Hawaiians.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine, I guess you being at light heavy, there's no Hawaiians in your category, but could you imagine, someone from mainland USA going to Hawaii? It would almost be like going into hostile territory in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be wild, just to see their fans? And I mean, the amount of Hawaiians that are really getting behind this sport and supporting their own, like, the card would be off the chains.
Yeah. I mean, look at guys like Zach Zane, the crazy Hawaiian. When they get on stage, the energy, you can see their culture, it just like relinquishes from them. It's this innate like primal aspect that comes out of them, and they're so fun to watch. They're tough as nails, and it's a cult following. I love the Samoan people are something else.
Totally. Let's talk about Zach Zane. I mean, Cole Young, we know he had a heavy heart.
Yeah.
You know, we know that, you know, after the match, he's going to give 20% of his liver to his son. Like, you know, incredible story along the way. You know, I think he just wanted it more than Zach Zane did. And that's hard to say. You know what I mean? Zach is a very outgoing person. You know, he fights with his heart on his sleeve.
Yep.
He's got a family of his own. The tragedies in Maui, he represents that.
Yes.
But just Cole really dug down and found a different gear inside of him. Like,
I love both those guys. I've had an opportunity to share deep conversations with them both, especially Zach Zane being in the house with them. But I tell you what, it's a testament to what a father will do to provide for his family. Totally. He dug down deep and got it done. And, you know, look on Instagram. I mean, he goes from, like I said, one of the fastest growing stages, winning under immense pressure, to immediately in the operating room for his son. I mean, that's a man.
Yeah. Do you think, like, I mean, you know, being a single man yourself, no kids, like, do you think there is that extra gear to have, you know, or do you think it's a disadvantage to have that extra pressure to have to provide for other dependents? Like, what do you think?
I think it goes both ways. For me, it helps me a lot being a single bachelor. I have no ties to anything, so it allows me the freedom. I can train whenever I want. I can do whatever. I'm loose.
Totally.
But there is something to be said about having that backbone back home, that support system. Boy, when you get rocked on stage, you think about your boys. I'm sure, like Cole did. You find a way.
Absolutely. You know, Brandon Bordeaux and Eddie Brehimer going, you know, second match again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you can't run it back for a trilogy. Unfortunately, it was entertaining for the purist, but I don't think it was entertaining for the average fan to have it as a draw.
Yeah.
You know, that chapter can't really be ran back. What do you think?
No. That was the only match out of this whole card I was really disappointed to see. I love both them guys. Eddie's my boy. Brandon, love that guy. I 100% disagree in the draw. Especially Brandon got a point taken from him.
Yeah.
To me, I don't think he did nearly enough damage to Eddie, or Eddie showed enough lack of resilience, per se, to offset the point. I think it should have been Eddie's match. It would have set up for a great trilogy.
Yeah.
But a draw with that aspect, I think it was a poor call, to be honest with you.
What was it with Brandon? Like, he almost looked like he had fear in his eyes. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it fear. I mean, maybe I could see how it could be spun that way.
Yeah.
I think before you get up on that stage, there is so much that goes through your mind. I mean, you're accepting your fate. You go up there, it's either he's getting me or I'm getting him.
Yeah.
And once you come to that conclusion that, listen, this is one of us, more than likely, isn't going to be standing after this. There's an amount of adrenaline that pops that it takes over, man.
Totally.
You become a different specimen.
Well, you know, I mean, obviously you have experience in telling me about it, but I've heard that some guys remember the entire thing. Some guys don't remember anything. And all of a sudden they get back to the hotel and they actually click in. They're like, I don't remember the last 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, what's your experience like?
So the first one, it was quick. Lost the coin toss, got hit, ate it, knocked him out, done. It was very quick. The second one against Gary Blakesley, it was longer. We went 3 rounds. Before he stopped me in the third. That one was tough because that first initial club, it rocks you pretty good, where you're at the seat of your pants. You're just trying to log in and, you know, just download what's happening, right? But afterwards, there's a blimp where you're like, gosh, like I can vaguely remember what happened. Once you see it back on camera, you're like, oh, okay. All right. But I think it's just total fight or flight.
100%. Blakesley, you know, unfortunately loses to TJ Thomas. The OG gets the better hand in this one.
Yeah.
What did you think of that match going up against, you know, Blakesley?
Tough match. I mean, from personal experience, Garrett Blakesley, we had our moments in the house, but what a man. New father, got his baby girl, so happy for him, see him compete again, provide for his family. You know, everybody said it in the house. He's really got to clean up his game. I mean, keep it clean. Work on your targeting, work on the stepping, the fouling. I think after that, he's got massive power. There's no doubt. He put TJ down for a quick second. TJ recovered, being the veteran. But if Garrett can clean it up, he's going to be a formidable opponent.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not the it's not the way I think a lot of these young guys wanted to go.
Of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Brian Ellis was the only guy from the house, season 2, that was able to come victorious against any OG.
Yep.
What do you think it is? Like, I mean, we talked before, experience versus athleticism. Experience still seems to have the upper hand. I mean, this is the first time that these fighters are really fighting in front of a live audience. I know that the finals, at least of the house, they had the guy from Power Stop number 5 in there in the audience.
Yes.
But I mean, being in the Apex with 20 people, it's still dead.
It's more intimate.
Very much more intimate.
Yeah.
Do you think that nerve, do you think that pressure of being live on Rumble, not being taped, having that live audience, like, did it get to the guys in the house?
Maybe. Some guys are, I mean, look at Austin Turpin.
Yeah.
That guy thrives under it. That's like gasoline on his fire.
100%.
Some guys you can see they buckle, they're walking out. They see Donald Cerrone, Tom Brady, Dana White. It's a little intimidating if you're not used to it. Speaking of Brian Ellis, that guy, there's no doubt in my mind, we're going to see him do big things here. That guy has got more power than I've ever seen. His initial debut in the house, that scared me.
Really?
I mean,
Really?
Wow. So I walk around about 220,
Sure.
thinking, I can bounce around, light heavyweight. I saw Brian Ellis. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good, buddy. I'm staying my 205.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Brian Ellis is funny on Fight World Live with Damien DeBell.
Yep.
I actually made a comparison. I actually think Brian Ellis is actually a younger Damien DeBell. I think they've got very similar makeups. Jeeves doesn't agree with me, but
yeah.
But I think long arms, similar makeup, big wide heads on, big wide head on him. So I think he's got a potential for sure to continue to advance. Obviously, getting a disqualification victory is not how you want to have it. But I mean, sometimes you can't control what happens up there. I mean, a win is a win. You'll take it, and be able to live another day. I mean, before this, like, the heavyweight division was a mess before Power Stop number 6.
Right.
Like, it was all over the place with really not a lot going on, not a lot of excitement.
Right.
With 3 heavyweight matchups on this card.
Yep.
And really, I don't necessarily think that Nate and Ryan was a guaranteed number 1 contender match. I think they were going to take, of those 3, who performed the best on Power Stop number 6 and elevate them. Obviously, the rankings came out earlier today. We've seen Ryan Phillips number 1 against Damien DeBell. Do you think we're going to get that back Power Stop 7? Or do we think potentially it's going to run back for season 3 as potential coaches again? And then lead into
that's interesting.
Lead into a future event, would be Power Stop number 8 or number 9. What do you think?
I think the coaching thing would be very interesting. It'd be a great lead up. I mean, both are. I haven't met DeBell too much. Had too much conversation, but imagine Ryan Phillips as a coach. The energy that would bring.
Totally.
He's up there with Austin Turpin with the energy he would bring.
100%, man.
Be fun content. I think a lot of the new guys that they're bringing for season 3 would be awesome veterans to coach them up and really expose them to the game.
Totally.
But I don't know. I think with the way the lineup is, I would love to see Ryan Phillips and Brian Ellis.
Okay, interesting.
And winner of that gets DeBell. You'd really see both big power. Again, a veteran versus versus semi-new rookie, right?
Sure.
And that'd be a great lead up.
Let's talk a little bit about being on the house. Being in the house. 2 weeks. Round robin style, win, you move on.
Yep.
Obviously things didn't go, your way in round 2.
Sure.
But how hard is it for those guys that had to fight week 1? 7 to 10 days later, turn around and fight again.
Yep.
Like, how much of a disadvantage is to get your bell rung a week earlier and then come back out again the following week?
Yeah, that's what we're in for. I mean, this is the combine, man. This is you're being tested. That's your tryout. So, yes, it's tough, but it's meant to be. It's like boot camp for the real deal. If you can't make it in there, there's so many variables. It's guys staying up late, the food, the prepping, the recovery. There's so many things at play. Trying to network and see who's who and eye up everybody, right? To be able to keep your composure and perform on the stage, the guys that made it through, it's a testament to their abilities. So, I don't know. I think some of the new guys, it's interesting to see how they perform. But
were you Manny or Kale Chris?
Manny.
You were Manny?
Yeah.
Cool. How much of that the influence that he had? How much that changed from the first time you were obviously on the taped, to getting on the show? Like, how much did his influence of the training actually change your game up there?
Manny was interesting because he's very soft spoken. He's very calm, cool. Like Kale Chris is more out there. He's a personality, man.
Totally.
I liked working with Manny. He was very strategic with it. He's like, just go up there. If you get clubbed, use the full time. Take your time. If you get knocked down, stay down. You work. He was so tactical with it.
Yeah.
So much we saw him pull through on stage as well. But it was very refreshing being with somebody like Manny. He's a veteran. Obviously, different weight classes. It helped all the world. I mean, from the workouts to the mindset to the things, just simple stretches. It was just, it all came together.
I mean, structurally, you guys are two totally opposites.
Absolutely.
You know, long arms, much taller. You know, how much different do you think the strike that you have to give is different than the strike that he has? Because, I mean, when you look at it, obviously, you know, you're looking at, you know, power, but you're also looking at speed. How fast can you get that slap in? You know, with your long arms and with the rotations of your core, your arm is going to travel a lot further. The whip, the speed that you can generate from it is going to be very, very different. Did you guys talk about that and how to like custom tailor your strike? Because I mean, I think really each striker needs to have one strike, and that's the strike that's going to knock the fucking guy out. That's the only one that you need. Like, let's be real. Like,
absolutely.
That's so. You know, how much did you work on that to try to perfect that strike that's custom to you that fits your body type?
So I haven't talked about this yet. My debut, I didn't train a single second. I was more cardio, right? I mean, I was all in on cardio, just staying ripped and loose and lean. I walked in, I only had to cut maybe 4 or 5 pounds the first time.
Wow.
So the second one, I'm like, okay, we did pretty good. I hired a personal trainer. I hired a nutritionist. I got surgical with this stuff.
Cool.
Got up to about 225, had an awesome camp, felt great. I won't do it again. Because I tell you what, I watched the tape back. Just something as simple as my windup. I couldn't get back as far. I felt stiff. It was like I was stuck, man. Totally. And I don't think. Yes, you need power, but you need speed to move that power. If a car, it's a big heavy object. If it hits you at 5 miles an hour, whatever. You get that going 65, 70. It's going to be a problem.
Absolutely will be. You know, there was one light heavyweight match on the card. Vernon, Cathy. Delvin, Hamlett. Well, sorry, I guess it was supposed to be light heavy, actually. It ended up being that heavy. Like, what a kerfuffle that was. I was sitting there in the weigh-ins, and they're like, Vern, 214. I'm like, what? What's going on here? What a wild turn of events, eh?
So Delvin, I heard, had trouble making weight. Knew he wasn't going to make weight. And this is all speculation from what I've heard, right? They asked Vern, hey, are you cool with this? And he's like, well, okay, like I'm cool, but can we redo the coin toss? They said no, because of betting or whatever. And you know, from a I'm a businessman. If Vern played it right, you know, he said, well, there would be no betting without me. Play it to your advantage. This is business. As much as it's fun, and you know, say, listen, negotiate a little bit. This is the early days of the UFC. You gotta be in your own corner too. So stand firm. Have a little stones.
What do you think? But if Delvin couldn't have made it, could open an opportunity for a guy like you who was here in Vegas potentially ready to go.
I was ready. So I'm hovering right around 213, 214. Stay in that lean again like I was. And anytime Uncle Dana calls, I'll answer.
I mean, it's getting harder now. Like, look at the rosters are getting deeper. The cards that are taking place. I mean, this is my personal feeling, but if you're not ranked top 5, you should be worried about getting a live event fight. Because the competition is so great now. And if they're going to try to expand out 155, the women, super heavy, you had 3 more classes. That's 7 now. Think about it. So if you could take a top 5 from each, typically we've seen 8. This was the biggest card yet of 12. There's not many matches on there. You know, and the fans want to see the cream of the crop. They want to see the best of the best. Obviously, Power Slap's got to figure out how can they groom these guys, move them up through the rankings. You know, we've seen with Rumble that they did the test and the trial to do the tape videos. I don't think it worked as good as they hoped or thought it would. You know, it seemed to kind of, you know, plateau out anywhere between 40 to 50,000 views on those tape fights. So probably not as great as they would have liked to have, you know, when they were doing, you know, the road to the title, getting 300,000-400,000 views the same night. So it wasn't quite working out the same way that they thought. But, you know, it's going to be interesting to see because, I mean, UFC now, I don't know how many fights are on UFC. I mean, we went to the UFC Saturday, and it started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we didn't leave the place until 10. You know what I mean? So maybe we're going to see it extend out. I'm not really sure, but I think these guys, they're going to have to be able to show up and perform to be able to continue to book those matches because we know that there has to be title fights on the cards, I think, right now. I think it's very safe to say you need to have a title fight. And, I mean, I love what they're doing. Road to the title, giving you that opportunity. And that's what they want these guys to do.
Yeah.
The guys that showed up are going to get legitimate chances.
Yeah.
And the guys that didn't perform, unfortunately, aren't going to rise, as much as they can. I hate talking about it because but we've had three disqualifications that led to victories on this card.
Yeah.
I don't know, as a pure fan, you don't want to see that. I mean,
No,
Dana
it was
doesn't want to
dirty.
see that. Nobody wants to see that.
Right.
I know it's hard. You talk about, the nerves, the animosity, everything that goes into it.
Yep.
But man, we got to clean that up from an entertainment value.
Absolutely.
Like McKinney Manu, can you give him a title shot now? Winning by disqualification over Danny Van Herden? It just
That's
is
tough.
It's not a good look.
Yeah. Yeah, I love McKinney too.
Very doctor stoppage, I guess.
Yeah, and you don't like to see those even in the UFC.
Totally.
I mean, you get some groin kicks and it's tough.
Totally.
You never want to see that. Unfortunately, it is part of the sport. I'm going to bring up I think you guys asked Dana about neck guards.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's something that should look into.
Sure.
I mean, have something where if you miss it, it's going to protect you. Because I tell you what, from personal experience, you get hit in that neck and that carotid.
Totally.
That's a game changer, brother.
Well, Sheena Bathory.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Who saw that coming?
So, I mean, whether you call it a club or not, it's up for debate.
Call it whatever you want.
If you call it whatever you want. We have a joke that's two-stepping into the club. I mean, either way, step in, club, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you hit that carotid artery, and I don't know.
a light
I don't
switch.
know how much opportunity and chance you have to stay up there.
Yep.
You don't want to see that. I mean, obviously we've seen Russell Rivera storm off the stage. We see Jackie Cataline storm off the stage. I mean, nobody wants to see the match end like that. And, it kind of leaves a lot to be desired now. Will we see Jackie back, or will she be bitter from it?
I hope she comes back. If anything, it showed that, especially in that women's division, Sheena's been so dominant.
Totally.
But it does go to show, you get somebody that I think she puts in 60 to 90 days consistently. Work on your technique, on that placement.
Totally.
Dwayne Crespo taught me something at Power Slap 4. He said, take power off to get the right placement.
Yeah, yeah.
Focus on your feet, focus on your placement on the face.
Sure.
Everything else will come to fruition.
Totally.
Somebody like Jackie, if anything, that should boost her up.
For sure.
For somebody to come in against such a, I don't want to say a ranked opponent, but somebody that's so boosted in the community. Her and Turpin, I think, are the face of Power Slap right now.
Totally.
To do what she did coming in, wow. I mean, I love it.
We haven't talked about it yet, but Manny Muniz versus KO Chris Thomas in the main event of the night. I'll let you break it down from your point of view and your vantage point. How did you see that match going?
Exactly how it went in. I mean, from meeting Manny in the house, from the very beginning, you just see that guy who was so calm and composed. KO Chris did just about everything he could to get Manny's head, punching him in the face. Manny ate it. Manny got his own little dish out his back. It was more mental. We saw Chris come into this very emotional. I think I knew as soon as I heard his walkout song and you seen the look on his face. He was ready to die that night, dude. He was in it. For so much, this is the first time we saw this. How many guys do we see on that stage? They're flexing the traps, they're hiding the chin. Manny was brilliant. I think this is something that a lot of the Power Slap strikers need to take out of this. Call him out. Stop it. The ref's got to. What's going on? Tell him to unchuck his chin. He's hiding, or he's going up. Manny's going back, and he's going down.
Totally.
No, man. Totally. Manny, he was mentally. Just so precise in there. I love to watch it.
Going in this match, I thought Chris was going to be the only one to beat Chris, to be honest with you. And I mean, when you seen Chris up there, I hate to say it, but Manny was in his head.
100%.
Pre-fight, the beacon off that was going on, I don't think that was, the classic KO Chris that was super confident. And I don't know for what reason. I haven't really spoken to him in great detail about the match yet. But I don't know if there was some doubt that he was starting to show, his personality differently, or what it was. But it wasn't stereotypical him. He was beaking Manny off. We know they don't like each other, but it was almost it was a lot. And I wonder if it got into his head, the pressure of being 5-0. Being that title holder. And going up against someone who dropped down in weight who hasn't been knocked down.
He's got a chin.
Manny's got a chin for sure.
I think it's that classic. You agree that story? It's not the loudest guy in the bar you have to worry about. It's the quiet guy in the corner.
Totally.
That was a pinnacle. Totally. Chris and Manny. Manny was the guy who was calm. No matter what Chris said, punching him in the face. He was cool. He was dialed. He was looking through Chris.
Yeah.
And absolutely. To your point, any fighter athlete who's undefeated knows Father Time gets us all. You just don't know when.
Totally.
Unfortunately, Chris's time was 5-0.
Yeah, and I mean, the fouls that were committed by Chris as well didn't help it. I mean, if it's going to go to the judge's decision at that point, with 2 fouls like that, well, obviously there was some uncertainty. People thought that the match was over, but then they didn't realize that in a 5-round match, there's 3 fouls.
Right.
So it makes it very, very difficult to come back from in that. And I mean, Chris had a tremendous amount of time off. How much did that time off play into it? We talked pre-fight where it was like, has the rule set evolved and changed since the last time we seen KO Chris at Power Style #1?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like isn't it crazy? 13 months in, but doesn't it feel like a fucking decade?
I've been in the sport now since August.
Yeah.
What is that? 7 months?
Yes.
Call it. It's evolved already. It's a completely different sport since August.
Totally.
For the better. But now I think a true champion in any aspect, you got to be fluid. You got to be able to evolve with the sport. And I mean, we saw Chris.
Totally.
Any guy, especially when you're undefeated, the guy's got a chin. You got two fouls against you. One more. That's all she wrote.
Yeah.
You're swinging for the heavens, and it's not doing anything. And you got to be honest with yourself. Every time Manny hit him, you're just chiseling away, just brick by brick.
Yeah.
I think it got to him.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I know, like for us, we put 300 videos in 1 year's time.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's impressive. And you guys, it's fair play to you guys. You guys do it right. You guys are fair to the fighters. You guys put out honest content. You don't bait anybody.
Well,
it's so fun.
So here's the thing. I will ask the hard questions. I'll ask the fair questions. I'll let you explain your way. I mean, it might be tough, but sometimes you have to face those realities of actually what actually happened and go down. But at the end of the day, you get a platform to give your side of the story, which may not necessarily be heard because, we always hear from the winners. We don't hear from the losers often. And, so being able to have that platform, have that ability, I mean, I've interviewed people right after their release. John Kennedy after he got released.
Sure.
And do you know how hard it is to interview somebody after they get cut?
Yeah.
So, those aren't things that you want to talk about, a lot of the time. And so, just being, trying to have, that efficacy, we never report on anything that we don't have facts and receipts from.
What a concept.
What a concept in today's world.
Mainstream media should take notes from slap news. How many times, like you said, you ask the tough questions, it's honest, but that's proper journalism, dude. For sure. It gives everybody a fair shake.
I'm not going to call myself a journalist, but let's not go down that path.
But you know what? You guys, you can report on anything, and people will pay attention because you're honest. They know whether you're left, right, pro, team red, team blue, team black, whatever it is.
For sure.
They know Slap News is going to deliver fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's totally. I love the way you guys report. Don't ever change.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we aren't planning on it. But let's talk about that division. Manny gets, the belt.
Yeah.
Who's priming the waiting? We see Andrew Provost popping out now.
Oh, boy.
What do we think? Is Provost in line? Does Provost need to go through KO Chris first? Does Manny get a bit of time off?
Yeah, I think Manny should absolutely stay fresh. You always, as a champion, you stay ready no matter what, because that call could come anytime. There's always somebody that's eyeing up that spot.
Yeah.
However, KO Chris was so dominant. I think it would be unfair to the sport and unfair to him and what he's done in that division. Anybody that wants to get to Manny should have to go through KO Chris. That's just that's proper.
Including Robert Trujillo. Ooh. Manny said he wouldn't fight him.
I don't, and you know what? Yeah, if those two, we see this a little bit in the UFC where friends don't want to face each other. This is the game, dude. You realize 100%. We're all blue collar folks trying to make a living, 100%. Do better for ourselves, build a better life. At some point, we're gonna face people that we've had a history with. Yeah, I think those two would be a great. Both got chins, both heavy hitters.
Totally.
Robert's a force at 155. Imagine the power he could generate at 170.
100%.
Boy, that'd be fun.
100%. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that evolves. Like we've seen Jewel Scott still hanging around there.
Yeah.
I know there's some uncertainty and turmoil around that. I'm not quite sure. The
that's
backside
tough.
of it and what's going on there. But, I mean, we'll see. That's a division that needs an injection as well. I don't think we got really good clarity from the show anyways of people coming in at 170 that, makes a lot of sense to try and get into that upper echelon. So we'll see, man. I guess we'll see how that evolves. But, I mean, let's talk about yourself a little bit, man. Let's talk about the light heavyweight division.
Sure.
I think the funnest division in Power Slap, taking both power, athleticism, speed together.
Everything.
I mean, it's been one of the deepest divisions for a very, very long time.
100%.
Like, for lack of a better term, killers at the top from, 6, 7 all the way up.
Yeah.
Like, any given day, those rankings can change.
And they do.
where are you at? You're at 8 right now?
Number 8.
Number 8.
Yeah.
What's an ideal match that you want next?
Boy, I think just stylistically, size, the way we train, our history, Alan Klingbeil.
Okay.
That'd be a great matchup. I mean, I think, what is he ranked, number 6 now?
I think he just dropped. Yeah, he dropped.
So he's in 6,
Yeah.
8 and 6. Winner get a top 5. Win that, get to a title shot.
Yeah.
That'd be great. He hasn't had a match in a little while. I think he was on standby here.
Correct.
Both, businessmen, professional.
Yeah,
let's have a proper match.
Interesting. Have you studied any of the different slaps that he's done? Because we've seen him bring out the short slap. We've seen him bring out almost like the hook slap. We've seen him with the long slaps.
I'm ready for them all.
You ready for them all?
I'm ready for them all.
Okay.
I think anybody in the division. If you look at Dwayne, his quick wind up.
Yeah.
It's all a mental game.
Totally.
Until they make contact with the race, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's all mental. It's trying to get you to flinch. It's trying to get you off your game.
Totally. Well, we'll tell you, every time Dwayne, in his windup, you hear the crowd go, oh.
He does it proper. Alan too.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, but
Alan could be a good match for you. It could be a really good test.
Yeah.
You were against who your last match was?
Garrett Blakesley.
I
would love, maybe after give me a couple. I'd love to run that back. That was, if Garrett can clean it up.
Yeah.
Clean up your fouls. Let's run that back, because he was a tough guy. I would love to see without a club in the first round.
Yeah.
I'd love to test my power on his chin.
Where's Blakesley in the ranking? Do you know offhand?
He just dropped to what, 5?
5?
I think 5. Yeah, because when TJ got him, and Alan dropped to 6.
To 5. Yeah, he dropped to 5.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Alan. I definitely think Alan and Blakesley very similar in terms of skill level. So I think it definitely could be
either
an
way
opportunity for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even TJ coming off that win. I think it'd be unfair to him to put somebody 6 through 10 against. I think he deserves to go on.
Yeah.
We'll meet up at some point. He's tough, but make no mistake. I study the whole division and their wind ups, their chins, their training, everything that goes into it. Alan, that'd be a great match.
Yeah. Awesome, man. You want to talk about the big news that you dropped to us earlier?
Man.
Relocation?
Yeah, so, but this last week has just been crazy.
Yeah.
With everything going on. I think the weeks have meshed together. Fortunately for us Power Slap strikers, we have full access to the UFC PI. Here in Las Vegas, this has everything that athletes need. If you're in combat sports and you don't live in Las Vegas, I don't know what the hell you're doing. So I've taken upon myself, built relationships, taking into account everything that's going on. In about 5 days, I will be moving out here permanently, working, living, training, all things Power Slap.
Awesome, man.
So
congrats, buddy. It's a big move.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
It's, we're all season 1, season 2, we're all pioneers of the sport. I'd love to see what we can do with from physical therapists to training to speed coordination, everything to really develop the sport. We see the question a lot, where can this sport go? Where can we go from here? Let's find out. I want to be a part of it.
Awesome, man. I mean, great place to be, great city. Obviously, Dana believes it's the best city in the world, which very hard to deny. That's the case.
Look at this.
But,
I mean, where else is there?
Totally, man. But definitely having access to it. The sponsors are here. Obviously, the league is here. The opportunity to be here. If you're ready to go, you never know, man.
Absolutely.
That's why a lot of you see like Sean Strickland, a lot of these guys moving their camps here and coming here and training hard, man. But let's go play some blackjack, my man.
I love it, dude.
Awesome, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Great interview for sure, my man.
Love it.